Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us for today's discussion, which is a meta-dialogue about the conversation itself. I'm really excited to get to this one. Let's get to it. So, I am really excited about this for more reasons than I even thought at the beginning of all this, because having the conversation every day has built upon itself. I'm sure that some people have noticed this, and I'm hoping that, we will see some things. I am super excited about where we're going with this. I'm going to go ahead and just read the talking points, little topic points that I sent to everybody right here at the top. So, here we are. The conversation as a whole is about promoting understanding and empathy by sharing diverse perspectives and experiences. It's about fostering critical thinking skills and encouraging individuals to question and explore complex issues. Raising awareness about pressing social matters, economic concerns, and environmental impact. I'll also add to that options on the table for people. Empowering civic engagement and empowering individuals to take action in their communities. Building bridges across communities and promoting collaboration to address shared challenges. Highlighting innovative solutions and sharing and inspiring stories of positive change. Creating a sense of community and belonging through open dialogue and shared experience. Inspiring personal growth, self-reflection, and lifelong learning. And then to contribute to the ongoing dialogue and progress towards a more just and equitable and sustainable society. So that is, in a nutshell, where we are starting, and of course, everything we have talked about in the last 9 episodes equates to what we are trying to do, which in my mind is the paradigm shift that is needed. It is the people who need to see themselves and, be a part of this movement as well. They see the inspiration. Hopefully that's what this space has been providing for the audience that has joined us this week and in the month of July when we did the first half of this season. We covered a bunch of topics. In fact, before I get some people up, hello, welcome in. We will have you up shortly. I'm actually going to take a moment to go through all the different ones that we've done, because I have them here in this little book, and it's my show. So, starting very, very first, on July 1st, we covered all things divestment, a very important topic and something that we have been ushering since with Blackout the System, which is starting September 16th. Please, if you have not marked your calendars yet, get prepared. But we started with all things divestment. It was a really great conversation, and then moved on to sustainability and solutions. That one is a really hard one to nail down and tackle. I think that one's probably expert level, level 12, as it were. And we tried our best for sure. Episode 3 in both season 1 and season 2 is revisiting the citizen story paradigm shift, because I think that overall is what our goal and objective is. So that was a revisit at the same point in the season. Building bridges across communities was another one that was absolutely vital to this conversation. How can we exist even in communities and then make those communities exist with other communities? So it's definitely a very special part of the conversation. We ended July with media literacy and critical thinking. That's where I got to meet some of my really nice new friends. And, we've been, that was at the end of July, and we had a really great discussion about all manner of media literacy and critical thinking. And then after my break, we did the marathon, which started Monday, and it was incredible. The marathon started with intergenerational collaboration and learning, something that I think is vital. I mean, collaboration is the conversation at hand, but it was a really, really great talk that we had that day. Food sovereignty and local food systems is one that is also incredibly important, and I do believe we covered that in season 1 as well, so it was a revisit too. On Wednesday, we did access to art and cultural experiences. It was a very spirited discussion on a day where a lot of really terrible things happened. And so I was really grateful to the audience members and to my panelists to show up and still have the conversation, even given the frame of mind. And I'll say that neighborhood safety and trust, the day after, we were all still, in some low spaces, but we still showed up to have the conversation, and it went some really great places. And all of this, what I've just talked about, is available on the Tube of You, which you can find the link in my bio. So with that, I think I'm gonna go ahead and get my people up here, and we'll start having this conversation. Hi and welcome. Please, thank you for being here. I appreciate you all being here.
Happy to be here. Give me just a second. I went to go get my portable charging bank, and that was dead too. So I'm figuring out my setup here. So I will be ready in about 30 seconds. But
No
so
worries.
glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Right on. No worries. Take your time, my friend. Take your time. Hello, my friend. Welcome in.
Hello, I figured out how to make the video happen. I am so wonderful. How are you?
I'm great. I'm absolutely great. Really looking forward to this. And like, it's funny because before all this started, the conversation wasn't as clear in my mind as it is like right now because I've had it all week. And so I'm so ready to go for this. I'm so excited. Tori, thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Just trying to get my tripod set up. How are you guys doing?
Right on. Doing real well. Real well. All right. So, like I said at the top of this, the conversation is it's a big, big thing, and it's hard to have in like one go, which is one of the reasons why it is the theme of the seasons. This live panel discussion is all about chatting, finding those different perspectives, and sharing good ideas. In fact, one of the things I want to share right off the bat was that yesterday I was talking about the sharing of corn in the neighbor's yard, and making a third space in your garage space and all that kind of stuff, and the fact that we have those options as community members. And there was definitely some excitement about just like that being a good idea. So like having different elements of this conversation has led to like a snowball, a rolling effect, and I'm happy to see it. Of course, of the panelists, I'm the only one who's been here all 5 days, so like that's one of those things where like I get to see it intimately. But I know that y'all have been around for pieces of the conversation, so I'm happy to like hear your perspective as well. So let's go ahead and just go clockwise on this one, since LaRinda is nice and ready for us. Go right ahead, dear.
Yeah, and I really, really wanted to catch up on all of the lives that you've done this week because I am loyal to these panels because you alerted me to them, and as I was said before, as I was calling out into the void for unity and community, and you were like, "Hey, you might want to come over to our side." I binged them all on YouTube. Followed all kinds of creators, and it really helped me to put things into action. Like I like to tell Tripp all the time, if you want to know that what you're doing is making an impact, hi, I'm here. Like it's made a big impact on my life, and so I really appreciate it. I wish I had seen them all leading up to this, but I got to be a part of the one on Wednesday. I've watched some from this week, but I'll be catching up in the weeks to come on the two of you. So thank you.
My vision, and like you are a beautiful like proof of concept, and that's the nicest way I know how to put it right now, is just like the idea of like, this is what you are, absolutely what I want, is like for people to be inspired to move throughout their world. And so I'm grateful to have such a great connection with you, and actually getting the chance to like meet you in real life was super dope as well. And I'll treasure that, and it's when and like onwards from here. And so like my big dream is like we get 2 or 3 seasons knocked out, and then like something hits, like one little thing makes it like super viral, and then people have all of this to binge and think about at once, because it's something that I think about, and it's something that I think a lot more people should engage with, which is the reason I'm doing it. So thank you for being a part, and thank you for all of your encouragement throughout as well. Tori, how are you feeling about the conversation?
So I love the conversation. I absolutely love the conversation. And I am still just getting set up. So if you want to skip me for now.
Sure thing. Yeah, just go ahead and I'll tell you what, turn your camera on when you're ready, and then we'll know.
Sounds good.
All right. Corey, please. I love showing up in the mornings when you're around, just to add my little flair and philosophy ponderings and whatnot. Thank you for, you've had a very specific piece of this conversation held pretty strongly in your corner. But I thank you for being in my space.
Well, I absolutely love it, and it gives me a chance to kind of branch out a little bit when I'm talking to you as well, because I am so hyper-focused on our goal and to get everybody on the same page, and that's where exactly what you're doing. And what I love about it is the community that's created, because tuning in, and I think I've linked up with every single one of the people that you have interviewed and talked to, and it's kind of like my honing beacon of, oh, awesome, there we go. That's somebody that we need to connect with over there to try to coordinate with what we are doing. So not only am I with the Take It Back movement, but also helping with Blackout the System as well too, and coordinating those two. We kind of say that, you know, the Take It Back movement doesn't work without a mass action like the blackout. And then we're trying to make the blackout as impactful as possible, because it's not just about the one-time boycott. It's about using that as a tool to incite a culture shift away from corporatism towards community. And that's exactly what you're doing, is having the conversations that we need to have to build that community. And I think we're actually going to take a page from your book as well too, and take a lot of our lives and move them onto YouTube, because it can't be done in these 20, 30-second talks. That's why you see me on lives every day, because when I first started this, I was making videos all the time, and then I'm like, whoa, wait, I need to talk about this. And that's really been the number one thing, is the connection that we're building. And I think that's what it really is, hey, can we just all remember we're all human first? And the way that we all really remember that is by talking and getting to know each other, wouldn't you see? So it's been wonderful to always be able to hop in, and can't wait until that moment it blows up, because it will go viral and pop off.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. There's watershed moments coming. This idea that you know, the stacked impact thing that you always say is you know, when we see, I think there's going to be a lot of people that when they see it for the first time, they're going to be inspired by it. And I think there's enough inspiration to go around. And yeah, the swell among this, and like the connections I'm seeing being made, it all excites me so much. Tori, thank you again for joining us today. I really appreciate your presence here on the conversation.
So happy to be here. So, yeah, I'd love to chime in just about that, you know, tools to incite the culture shift. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what we need, is that we need to build a culture around like compassion and collaboration and creativity. I ended on, not last night's discussion, Wednesday's discussion, talking about a concept that I like to call the 4 C's. And those are creativity, collaboration, community, and compassion, which I think are like the pillars of what we need for that culture shift. And so I see a lot of people on the online space, like, who comment on some of the type of videos that like some of us make, who say like, oh, well, that could never happen, or it'll never work because of this. And then I see a lot of other people saying like, yes, I've been thinking the same thing, and I have all these ideas, and like I've written this whole plan for like you know, I've designed a community, or I've like written this whole plan for like new legislation, or like a new government, or like all these wonderful, amazing, innovative ideas. But then I'll go and I'll look at those people's profiles, and like, they're not posting about it. They're not talking about it. They're, you know, talking about it in the comments, but it's still only existing in an ivory tower. So that's why like the creative aspect isn't enough. We also need to then take those creative ideas and then go and collaborate with other people, and then build community off of that collaboration. And then that's what changes the culture. So, I mean, yeah, it's funny how the C word's another one that a motto that I've lived by for, or have tried to live by for many years, is try to create more than you consume. So I think if every person did that, if every person created more than they were consuming, the world would be an entirely different place.
You're absolutely right. You're right, and that's one of those things where with inputs and outputs, you know, that there's so much good there to speak on. Because the idea of creating more than we consume ends up shifting something entirely. Like, because the consumer story wants you to believe that your power is only in your power of purchase. And they want you to have to be able to pay for everything forever, like extensively. That's the end of the consumer story. When I brought the reason I started this is because I read a very specific book. It's called Citizens: Why the Key to Fixing Everything Is All of Us by John Alexander. And it's an incredible read. It inspired me to move in the directions that suited me best. It doesn't give you a checklist to be like, you know, these are the things that you need to do to change the world. It inspires you to find what you're best at, and like, you know, move where you can. Is it this influencer space? I don't know. I like holding conversations with people of different perspectives, so that way we can get kind of a better handle on the ideas that we all kind of face, because, you know, the human condition is common. We may face our problems differently, but we all face very similar problems. And knowing that, and being able to connect and come to a space where we can create with each other. Co-creation is definitely a big piece of this as well, like being able to come to the community with ideas and like have those ideas, like compromise and cooperation is what is needed. And unfortunately, keeping up with the Joneses, stranger danger, and other things has led us to a more competitive sort of nature, and that is not necessarily conducive to a positive, positive way forward. And I think there's so many facets to this that the only place you can truly have it, besides the only place you can really have it is in a conversation of good faith. It doesn't matter where the perspectives are coming from, but people seeing the people on the other side of it. And so that, in essence, kind of feels like a lost art, especially with the events of the world and the way that people have responded this week. It feels like a lost art. And so, providing this space is just a tiny drop in the bucket, but it's one of those things that I'm happy to provide. I'm happy to have found my avenue to be a facilitator is the way I've always kind of seen myself. And so, like, to facilitate the connections of people who are doing good with other people who are doing good, like, if I can keep doing this if I keep my head down and keep doing the work, then inevitably I'm going to look up to a whole new society. And like, because I'm inspiring other people to help me, I know that's to be the case. And like, I have bright and shiny visions about what the future looks like, and I know I'm not alone. And like, I just, it's combating the doom and gloom and all of the other noise, because like, this matters. I'm just going to go ahead and open it up to the conversation. Anybody who wants to say, move to speak. Thank you guys for being here again.
I'd love to say one more thing on that, and that's that what we're doing, like, the universe rewards action. So even if we don't fix everything, like even if we don't fix the broken political system and the rising geopolitical tensions, it's like, like the conversation that we were having the other night, we should still enjoy our lives in the meantime. So even if we're just carving out a corner of the world for people who want to do things differently, then that's okay too. Even if we don't change everything, then that's okay too. But I think everybody who wants to do things differently, everybody who wants to make a change should just put one foot in front of the other and start trying to make a change. And it's really that simple, because it will compound over time.
I agree with, like, I mean, obviously, like, we're all kind of like on this sort of same wavelength or plane or vibration, or however we want to think about it. One thing I wrote down that kind of came up to me, I just want to say this, Tripp, when you're talking about like the sustainable solutions, you're like, well, it's kind of expert level. Like, hey, how did experts get there? How did when we didn't know what I don't know, sewage was, like a sewage system was, how do we get there? Right. So we're forging a new path, and we're learning together. And sometimes I think we can get really bogged down too by perfectionism. Tori, when you were talking about people saying they have all these ideas in their head, right? And they're probably fantastic. How many people out there have amazing, innovative solutions and ideas in their head, and they don't put the video out, they don't put it out there because they're so afraid of the criticism? You also mentioned, like, people can say, oh, well, that won't work because of this. Well, they're so met with that, and that shuts down conversation. I've been really inspired by this idea of thinking instead of like a yes and both yes, and it really challenges the way we think. I think it promotes critical thinking. So even when I am like thinking, well, okay, I want to do it this way though, right? Like, if I challenge myself, like, how can I make this an and? How can I add on to that? And I was thinking about like improv, right? In improv, you always say yes and, because if you don't, you shut down conversation. So how do we keep it open? And I think also just uplifting each other, right? Of praising those ideas and fostering that. Like, there's so much negativity in the world, and we criticize so much, and we're so used to things not working. They want us to think it won't work. The oppressive systems want us to get caught up in perfectionism. They want us to think that we're not experts, because it keeps oppressive systems a system. So yeah.
Well said. Well put. Go ahead, Corey.
And I'm gonna come in a little bit hot right now because this is just so amazing. But it wasn't almost that it turned that way. It was that they completely stole it from us because they knew that they had to pit us against each other in order to do that. And then even with the oppressive systems, I feel like they're only put there in place because of these little lies and these half-truths that we are being told and fed by the media. And it's so difficult because these half-truths do have little slices of truth to them, because the ownership class and the hardworking class, there should be a mutually beneficial relationship, and one side needs the other. But the lie that they've told us is that we need them more than they need us. And then they use all those different lies to then pit us against each other. And then back to what I really wanted to start with anyways, is I said before that you have helped me figure out the meaning of life. And it sounds really silly, but it really is kind of true. Because when we talk about education, education for what? It's education for our citizenry. And the only thing that education for citizenry actually entails is asking, what is the point of a society? That is it. That is it. It is all of us coming together and realizing what is the point of a society. And so when we have these groups together and we all are shared like-minded of, yes, the point of society should be to have achieve security and prosperity for the most amount of people. But that's the lie that they have told us. And I think that then it goes in three different phases. Are people going to believe one of those lies? And even if they get past seeing through both of those lies, well, then they ain't got no effing hope because they've rigged the entire system against us. They've taken all three of the politics of power. But what's amazing about human and community and speech is the more that we can get this exact word out there to show the truth that will set people free, and they will be like, oh, shoot. And that is that piece of emotional clarity. That is what we call it. Emotional clarity that leads a spark to action. And that's what you are talking about, is people missing some of that emotional clarity. And that is everything that we are doing, is trying to bring this together, attach these groups that are already doing it with the momentum that we're getting with the blackout. And the number one thing is, and it's so funny because you all are echoing everything that we are saying. I even love Tori. I live my life off of positive attitude and empathy for others. And that's what we're trying to bring to this movement. And that kind of hits your C's as well, too. And then back to what you were saying, People's Lunch, about people being afraid to it. Well, they don't have the hope. But if we've already showed them that that emotional clarity for the majority of us has led to that spark of action, and that's what made them then start to act, then it will be that compounding cycle. It will be exponential. It will be each of us going up, trying to create that avalanche by shoveling one shovel of snow per person. But it's not, it's about getting the next one in line to shovel it, and the next one in line to shovel it. Not everybody all at once. And that's really how we're building this. And I'll end with this, is what we are building, we call the civic force. And what that is, it isn't a single movement. It's 1,000 movements that are coming together, that they know this is the moment to build a community, because the only way we can actually take down the strength of the rigged system is by building a community large enough and strong enough to overcome it, because the opposite of the greed that we are battling is that community. Thank you.
Absolutely. Very well said, my friend. And it's definitely the paradigm shift that I'm espousing to hopefully help, the watershed moments and things, is basically one of interdependence, one where we are asking the question, what is best for all of us, and in a way and fashion, plugging into a system, into our own system, like basically crafting and creating our own future, and understanding that it's a day by day lunchbox job that never ends. It does get better over time, and they will always have hopefully some sort of utopia to shoot for. Again, I'm going to mention Rutger Bergman's book, Utopia for Realists, another one I recommend people read. It's something that, the thing that really I took away from is this idea that when you think that you have reached a pinnacle of society, you've reached the top of it, we end up having the tendency to backslide, because basically if we think we've got it good, then what's the point of working hard anymore and trying? And so that is among the other things that he talks about, which was I think it's the 4-hour work week, and a couple of other really cool ideas just to think about how life could be better for us. The main thought of that book is that we have to be striving for better. And in that, it's 100 different little ways, because people are going to be inspired about food, about shelter, about all of these different needs, about community commitments, about the arts, and about every single facet of the conversation we've had. The beautiful part is the more people that plug in, the easier, the faster that, that everybody takes one shovel of snow and that avalanche occurs. I dream of an idea of a game style where people can interact in the real world doing community commitment, and then turning around and proving it with little receipts to get points and badges and things like that, basically gamifying volunteer and community commitment and stuff. And I think for some people it would probably work a hell of a lot better, but it's one of those that we have to offer options. And so part of the conversation is we're basically intellectually jazzing with each other and coming up with different ideas from different points of perspective. You know, the ideas of sharing corn or something similar with your neighbors, all the way up to teaching skills and whatnot as a way to build community. It's an incredible spot, and there's a lot more stuff here to talk about, I'm sure.
Tripp, what you were just saying reminded me. I don't know if you've ever read the like Monk and Robot series, but book 2 they explain their economic system, and it is basically there's no money. It's post capitalism, but they basically just give. They call them PEBs, and that means digital pebbles. And I'm thinking they're taking from like maybe penguins or something. I'm not sure, but like, and you just give it. Like no one asks for him. No one. You just do. You know. It's that kind of a thing. But another thing I loved when take it back a minute when you were talking about like we need like 1,000 movements. And then I was also thinking, Tripp, when you were talking about like, oh, you know, I wish I had it'd be nice to have a checklist, right? You know, is what I'm doing the way? And what I'm thinking is it's a way. It's a entry point, right? We get really caught up in there's one right way, there's either or thinking, right? And there's many, many ways. There are many entry points to empathy, to community building. There are some people who like literally that will get so dysregulated talking to a certain group of people because they've hurt them. We're not asking you to do that, right? Some people can talk to these groups of people. And so there's just so many entry points and so many ways we can go about it. And also just thinking about this concept of we're ingrained with this individualism, right? And it's not to be mistaken with individuality, right? We are unique human beings. We do have unique perspectives. We do have different things to bring. We all have our own weird, you know what I mean? And like, but individualism is isolation. Like that means that's like, oh, I have to do all of the things, right? Instead of having that, you know, thinking about, is this the way? Well, it's a way because you can't do all of the things, you know? We need facilitators, you know, we need educators, you know, we need people focusing on food or health or whatever. Some people aren't good at networking. I'm great at it. You know, so I'll do it. It's fine. You know, just finding your role is important. There's a lot of tools out there to do that with. There's a great workbook. It's called Know Your Revolutionary Role. Highly recommend it. Goes through roles. It has self-reflection. In fact, I think I do because I look at it all the time. There's a creator on here, The Angry Proletariat. This is their book, and it's a workbook. It's ADHD friendly. It has things for drawing and stuff. It has a whole section on mutual aid and community building and coalition building. And that's just one of many. There's so many. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know that there's a creator that we have sent some videos back and forth, Christiana, who has this wonderful pie chart. Like I did a stitch of her way back in the day about this like pie chart idea, this, you know, not a pie chart, but it's a special layout where it's like most people think of organizing in like very 2 specific lanes, like the actual organizers, the ones that call everybody and do all of the things, and you know, and like you know these specific lanes when it's really like a whole plethora. You know, you've got the entertainers, the visionaries, you've got the healers, you've got you do have a sense of like money men, or people who you know aid and health in some ways, like you know the bus boycotts had bake sales and things like that, and like there's many different facets on the wheel. I remember watching that video, being inspired to do my little stitch, and like you know finding myself in 2 or 3 different spaces on the map. You know, facilitator, visionary, you know, kind of the stuff I have now kind of worked into real lanes. When at the time when I was initially inspired was brand new territory, like walking into the dark. You know what I mean? Because I was just like, I had spent so much of my time nose to the grindstone, just focusing on survival and being the slacker stoner chick that I was, that I didn't want to participate in that way. And then because of a cascade of different things, there's a piece of this that is like totally because I got on TikTok, like the what I call the, oh gosh, I'm forgetting the word for it, but basically it's a feedback loop of positivity. Like I'm putting out into my echo chamber, I'm putting out my words and my thoughts, and I'm getting that initial feedback on stuff that I was originally going to write like a book about. And don't get me wrong, books coming at some point, you know, but there's an idea of getting that feedback has moved the needle for me in ways that I don't think we'll fully understand in today's age, but like looking back 10, 15, 20 years from now, as like content creation becomes like something in the history books, there's going to be a phenomenon about it being like something better than therapy. And that's something I've heard in the discourse around, you know, around this app in the years that I've been on it. And I don't want to attribute all of it to one basket, because what it really is connecting with community. And like, yes, it's a digital community, and like we've had this conversation a couple times this week as well about how detrimental or helpful the digital space actually is. But in one aspect, it has made me a hell of a better person, or a different person, one that I like myself more right now, because I'm moving in a direction that feels right. You know, that the universe is literally telling me to lean in, build it, and they will come, kind of stuff. And it's an exciting thrill ride. It's a hell of a lot better of an adventure than working for a 9-to-5. You know, even if it was a cool job like at Dispo. You know what I mean? So like that is where this journey has taken me so far. And now, you know, there's grand adventures and side quests and things on the horizon that I never thought were possible. And I do attribute at least some piece of that to reaching out and seeing like the windows and the doors through the communities, and trying not to find myself in an echo chamber, and finding people who are doing really cool shit and being inspired by people who are doing that. Like, and like that's the people sitting here as well, you know, definitely. But there's, you know, Lawrence from Farm Fresh 24/7 and Jay Friday and a bunch of these people who have just like decided to do. And because of that, you know, it is leading to the watershed moment. And like, I think putting my head down and just doing the work is my way to not become overly egotistical about what it is that I'm doing. Because don't get me wrong, I'm having a lot of fun. This is really great. And like, if it ever does pop and there's hundreds of thousands of people who watch it and stuff, I'm going to be probably a different person. But like, you know, right now I just see it as the work that needs to be done. And so I'm going to put my head down and do it. That being said, as you know, this grows and what have you, as more people are connected, this is going to happen quicker. And I love that. I love that for everybody involved. Events like things that happen this week might in fact be a blow to the movement, might set us back some, because like in the history books, this could potentially be seen as like the start of the next, you know, in-house conflict. I hope not. I hope to inspire enough people to talk to their communities that it doesn't happen. But like, I'm not going to be naive and, you know, ignore completely. You know, I've got blinders on to make sure that I know the mission doesn't change. But at the same time, I'm not naive enough to say like, yeah, that hurt the movement, that hurt the collective as a whole. And that's one of the reasons why, like, the only words I've spoken on about it is the one video I've done, because like, it's an event that now we have to build back from. We slip down that slope a little bit further, but that doesn't mean it's down and out. And to every person who comes in and says that idea of like, it'll never happen, Tony said something yesterday that I found, you know, that push to like, what'll never happen? What do you mean? What do you mean? And usually they mean that kind of Tyler Durden, tear down the system, that kind of deal. And it's like, well, sure, yeah, but what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? And offering those options and solutions and those ideas to start and create and go in just a different direction, trying to spark the inspiration in the person, I think is the real key element here. Because like, we can lead a horse to water, but we can't make him drink. And I'm going to go ahead and stop venting now. Thank you all for letting me go with that. We've already crossed the half-hour mark. Just wanted to say thank you to the panelists. Thank you to the people who are sitting here. I really appreciate you guys so much. But yes, I'll go ahead and open up the conversation.
So I just wanted to touch upon like a little bit of what you were saying and a little bit of what People's Lunch was saying. I remember seeing this viral video once that was like a carnival ride gone wrong. I think it was like the zipper, and something came loose and it started to flip over. And you see one person, and it took that one person to be the first person to run up and try and like hold the gate down and stop that ride from tipping over. And if nobody else watched that person run up and do it and then decide that they were going to follow and do the same thing, they wouldn't have been able to stop that ride from tipping over. But I saw so many people run up after that one person to like then help them, that they were actually able to stop that ride from tipping over and save all those people. And I feel like that's just a small scale metaphor of like exactly like the impact that human beings can have when we like collectively organize. And it's like what you said, a lot of people are like afraid with their ideas. They're afraid to present them to the world because they feel like it needs to be like perfect enough or hashed out enough. And I was that for a while. It really just took me personally finding like what my why was and what my main motivation was for me to say, okay, it doesn't need to be perfect. I'm going to go out there and just talk about it and just do it messy. But it also makes me think of when I was in college, I took a human sexuality class, and I had a teacher who did this like experiment in the class where she had us play this game called Yes, No, or In the Middle. And you had to stand on one side of the room. She would ask a series of questions to like the whole class. She had everybody stand up and she said, you can only say in the middle one time. You can only answer in the middle one time. And otherwise you have to pick a side. You have to stand either on the no side or the yes side. And then like she did it and she asked a series of questions, and the first few questions were like not that personal, and they started to get more and more personal, and people started taking longer and longer to like pick a side, to like go to the other side of the room. And for every question I was like, okay, this is easy, like I'm gonna just go to this side or go to that side. And I was always like one of the first people to go to one side or the other of the room. And when the game was over, she was like, the point of that was to show that the majority of the people, 90% of you, waited for one person to pick a side, to say like, okay, there's more people over there, so I'm gonna go over there, than before like anybody acts. And my husband said to me the other day too, he's like, why are you doing this? Like, why do you have to do this? Like, why can't you just like jump on to like what somebody else is doing? Like, why do you want to start a community? Why do you want to build your own community? Can't we just like join a community or something? And I'm like, I mean, well, yeah, like I see them, they exist, and there's people doing it, but I think that my idea and like what I want to create is unique and it has value. And I also just like, I can't help it. I'm the type of person, when I go to a concert, if the mosh pit hasn't started yet, I'm the person who starts it, and I like take great pride in that. And it's I just can't help it. I just can't help it. Like a lot of times, like I feel like in one of our previous conversations, we were kind of laughing about just like not being able to shut up. And sometimes I feel like I am not as well spoken as other people. And sometimes I've had moments where I've clashed with people because they're like, you always have something to say, and it's too much. Like, you're too much. And sometimes I'm like, well, maybe I am, but I just can't help it. I just can't help it.
We need all kinds to walk forward in these paths, and like the people who are ultra passionate about the things and will not stop talking about it is definitely, you know, one of those tips of the spears we need in the charge. So thank you for everything that you're doing.
Tori, you've like called out everything that our movement is about so far. We call it breaking the silence to break the fear. I even have my own little talk about how it's like all of America right now is a crowd of people, and we're just waiting for one person to speak out. And as soon as that happens, that's when the surge will come through. That is the dam that we are all trying to break right now. That's the collective conscious point that we are all feeling, is this dam crack widening. And what you were saying is, I'm going to keep going ahead and trying to open it up, because then as soon as we break that silence, we break the fear. We all jump on the tilt-a-whirl at the same time, because it does take a few of us hopping on that. And that's really, it's so funny that you are describing our entire movement in the same way that we are doing as well. So definitely seeing you around things. And both y'all, please, if you have anything, because what we are really trying to do is get this momentum that the Blackout has created with the thousands of people that we have signing up that are wanting to do more, and saying, hey, Tori, rise and create with us. You know what I mean? Things like that, and bringing people that are passionate about it, and just literally what you're saying. We're going over here, y'all. Who's coming with us? You know what I mean? And that's sort of what we're doing. This phase 2 is kind of with the Blackout happening next week. And then the next step from there is kind of like phase 2 is let's figure out what we're passionate about. What do we need in our area to build security? What systems do we want to redevelop? The child share, the tool sharing, skill sharing, trading and bartering, and just not relying on this system that continues to fail us. And you just have to go out and build what you see that you need. So hell yeah.
And I want to speak to the concept of like the bystander, the complex, the idea of like if nobody help, if the bigger the crowd of people there is, the less likely there is to have somebody actually help, which is something we actually have discussed a couple times this week. And it's a phenomenon that they study in sociology that occurs, and like we have to recognize it in the moment to like step up and like, be the hero, for lack of a better term, like just be the one that breaks that fear and steps up and is willing to, do something of account or accountability in that moment when it's needed. And it can be from like saving those rides. I often think about like the person who has a heart attack in like on a crowded street or something like that. There's a couple of classic examples that like I went over in my college sociology course, and like those are always kind of the first in my mind. But it is up to an understanding that that usually like there's two ways to really overcome it. Either there's the person who maybe it's a neurodivergence thing where like we don't see that barrier as like, and so we step up and we help accordingly. But I think there's also like the people who have been, told that, that sometimes it is required for people to stand up and be heroes. There's a bunch of different ways that, but it's funny because I feel like we see a lot of the opposite happening. A lot of, nobody stepping up and doing things. And then like, or, like the internet is such a weird space because like it just gives you everything that happens, and not necessarily like all at once or when it happens. Like that's another weird thing about the internet, is that like you can see something that's years old and you haven't seen it yet, so it's new to you, and it like viscerally affects you. And it's a video like that where like people are stepping up to help out, or a video where nobody steps up and helps out, and it's just like it's wild because those things occur. Like 1.5 million things happen on the planet daily. We have never been witness to as much. You know what I mean? Like that's one of the definitive things of the internet. We are now taking in so much more information than humans were ever really, really like not designed to do, but like were evolutionized for like generations previous. And I think that over time we can, intellectually evolve to adapt and be okay with that, but we're not there yet. Like the internet is so much in its infancy that like those things viscerally affect us, and they affect the conversation as a whole too, because like that's where you get the neighbors on Facebook that are bickering back and forth at each other from different sides of the ideological line. And like, maybe they will attend a barbecue or something in town together and be on their best behavior or what have you. But like, that division online is creating division in the real world, because, it's something to combat. It's something that, this conversation, this plugging in an interdependent civilian style way, is a way for us to kind of combat the apathy, the ennui, and all of the other tools that like the oligarchs use to keep us isolated and individualized and paying for every little thing that we need. And so like all of it is connected. I cannot stress it enough. It's all connected.
It is. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it is all connected. So I know. So Tori, you said something that really resonated with me because I hear it a lot. I'm in also like a lot of like deconstructing spaces, right? And you said like people tell you you're too much. The amount of people that have said people tell me I'm too much when we're in these spaces and we're all been harmed by this sentiment is astounding, because none of these people are too much. Like they're not. Maybe other people in their lives weren't ready to receive them authentically, right? But we get stifled by that of like, I'm going to hold back. But we're not too much. So, it's finding people who love you, who are like, we'll take it all in. Right. And then also I was just thinking about what you were talking about with that video with the ride. There's another video that initially I thought of because I feel like I've been this person too, where I love music, and I've been, I have friends who are in bands, and I can't tell you how many shows I went to where there's no one dancing yet. These are smaller, places, and, we're a bunch of hippies. We like to dance, we don't have dance moves. We just move. And you get one person on the dance floor. I'd be like, all right, I'll go out there and start dancing, and people will join you. Right. There's this video of this like big concert, and they're like on a hill, like this grass hill on a stage, and one person's just dancing, and one person joins, and one person is slow. And the next thing you know, people are running. It's like there is this crowd of people running. They all want to dance together. And it's like they all wanted to dance, and they just needed someone to show them they could. And I have this like concept that I always think of, and it started out as play pretend, but it's real, of like, you think of all these things in your head you want to do and be like, that's amazing, but you're too afraid to just pretend that you can do it. because you probably can't, right? But I have this like thing of I'm calling it the Lost Boy mentality. Does anyone remember that iconic scene in Hook, right, where all the Lost Boys are at the table and they're all pretending to eat, and Robin Williams is there and he's like, what are they doing? What are they doing? And they're like, come on, just one more person joined in and played pretend, and it became a feast. There was actual food, and so if we can just keep going. And so that's that hope part of like, it's hard because there keeps not being food, right? It's like you keep pretending to eat and there keeps not being food, but you just keep hoping, and you'll have that piece click and there will be a feast for everyone. So I like to think in terms like that helps me think of that way.
I love that. I absolutely love that because like Hook is such a core memory for me. Like as a millennial, like that's one of the movies I grew up on. So I'm just like, yes, yes,
yeah, right, yeah.
And it's fantastic because like the imagination is absolutely required. Like the that's what this space sort of is. Like again, Tony said something this week that really resonated with me about the fact that all the future is what ideas you have in your head. Like that is as far as we're concerned, that is the future. And so like what kind of ideas are you propagating in your mind? And it's just like, yeah, what kind of imagination are you expressing? Because if you're doom scrolling all the time and like you've got other voices in your head and like them that inevitably that isolation is not inevitable, but like it's harder to come back from. And so the introspection part of this conversation that rears its head every single time is that it starts at home. It starts within, and it starts with like knowing yourself and yeah, working past the traumas and things that may have felt like boulders upon our personality, stains, scars at which we would never really fully heal from. But that is not the case. That's just an active choice that one is making. And some people's work is a lot harder than others. Like we've all been dealt distinctly different raw deals. And I don't want to discount anybody's work, but everybody has to do the work themselves. Nobody's going to do it for you. And so, as always, this conversation starts within and then moves to community members, your friends, your family, the people in your neighborhood, those kinds of things that are, necessary to make that progress, because nobody can do it alone. All of us are smarter than any one of us, which is something that comes out of Citizens, by the way. And I love being able to share those ideas, be like the tip of the spear to kind of help other people be inspired in that way. In this space, I'm still, and I'm going to be brutally honest, I'm still working on like my community commitment stuff and doing things like in the real world. My Citizens Revival, there's a reason it's next year. I want to make sure that I do it right and not like a flash in the pan kind of thing. And so there's a lot of handshaking and things like that. I've been really concerned with doing this week. So like what I'm actually planning on doing during the blackout is total take away of my attention from where I can. If y'all see me on this app, I failed. But there's a piece of the blackout where I'm going to start working on like what my next chapter is. I'm going to do as little consuming as possible or whatever, but I can't, like, as far as like productivity, I'm doing productivity for myself, not for the system. That starts after the blackout. And so like I've taken time to really think about what I'm choosing to do between the 16th and the 20th, because like to me it really matters. Like seeing the people who have like been championing this thing all along, like you, Corey, has given me like so much hope. Because like, don't get me wrong, like speaking these words into the void for the years that I have, I've always felt that those drops in the buckets have been occurring. But to see like people pick up and like run with an idea and concept and like see the bigger picture and like see that, like I'm watching you guys build the steps. And that's just incredible to me. So that's one of the reasons why I'm so grateful to like be in your circle, have you in mind, and like be a part of what's going on, because it feels like I finally connected with like the route of the highway of the path I've been walking, and there's other people on this highway now, and I'm so grateful for that.
Well, and that's where it kind of wraps it all up, because exactly what you were saying, People's Lunch, is where that moment of us coming together, and what it really is all of us getting on the same page and understanding that every problem that will persist inside of the rigged system, because that's what perpetuates the issues. And it's about not even having conversations with people about this to start. Really, when we're talking about building community, it's like also about making friends with people as well too, and just kind of then building that relationship enough to be able to talk to them. And then if you're not one of those that can go out there right away, then at least you are able to go and build and take action to do it. And I really just think it's almost like they screwed up. The oligarchs went too far because the truth is on our side. It just is they needed to keep it hidden from us. And that's where I believe we're going to win. Like, it's just no doubt in my mind, because all you have to do is keep saying the same thing, because it's only the one truth of this should be a mutually beneficial relationship. And it's not right now, because, and if I can go through it real quick, because I'm working on my little line, because basically what they bring to the table, capital and organization, we can find in other places. When somebody, though, is looking to grow and expand beyond what only one individual can do, they have to go hire more people. So technically, they need us more than we need them. The second lie that they tell us is that when somebody is not able to survive, that it only affects them, that they need to work harder, that they didn't pull themselves up by their bootstraps. But when you look around and see 80% of people not have any security, well, when that inevitable emergency happens, it's everyone who picks up the slack, when it should be the billionaires paying their fair share, because the public good is there for emergencies, and we're happy to provide it, not so the rich can get richer. And I honestly believe if we can say that a million times over, we know what they're going to say. Well, they bring, we need them, they need the capital, you can't do this or that. And it's like, well, no, mutually beneficial, they need us. And then it's other people, other people, other people. Well, why are there so many successful corporations and not so many successful employees then? Because it's those lazy people you're saying, they're the ones that are actually making all the profits. And no matter how we say that or what happens, and then not just talking about it, building it on the same side. It's how we're going to win. And it's not even a question of if. I haven't used this one in a little while, but I was using it in the beginning. It's not even a question of if. It's when and by how much. And that's what building this wave is about.
Absolutely right. And I want to say, another one of the things that comes to mind is the social contract being completely obliterated, which is what you're speaking to, is the idea that it used to be both sides, the working and the owning class, would come to the table and there would be an agreement, an arrangement, social services like the fire department, the post office, and the libraries wouldn't be things today if you proposed them. There's no way that it would fly, because the propaganda has gotten so deep in that division of the wrong way and the common good sort of deal. But that being said, they are institutions of a time when that social contract was actually valid and held up by both parties. Now, one specific side has completely obliterated it over and over and over again, and we see this slippery slope. Private equity, it started with daycares and nurseries and hospitals, and and then there's the private homes, and now they're going into utility companies. So that way they can supply the power to the stations for the AI or what have you. It's part of their big overall plan. And it's honestly some scary shit. And so that's one of the reasons why this is needed, this is necessary, because otherwise we are each in our individual homes, as long as we've got electricity and plumbing, then hey, we got a pretty great society here, right? Do we need everything else? And that becomes a dangerous part, because that's where in the tinfoil hat of mine comes on, and it says the World Economic Forum wanted us to own nothing and like it. And that is not the vision that we want for a better and brighter world. That is not it. Having drones ship the big box names, McDonald's and Amazon, to your front door is not the pinnacle of society that we could have. There's so much better and brighter out there, but we have to be able to plug in and help and do our part, shovel our snow in the avalanche in order to make this thing happen. And there are so many people who are this is not a fight that has started this year. This is not a fight that started 5 years ago. This is something that has been an ongoing battle, probably since the dawn of civilization, to be honest. But for sure in the last 100 years, we've seen it in American society. We can look at in historical figures, point to very specific key dates when radical shifts. And I know that one of the most talked about in this circle, because it was one of the most recent, is Citizens United. And how people, corporations are people too, and that kind of idea really was almost the last straw in a pile of shit kind of thing. Sorry, it gets me motivated and it gets me angry, because I understand that one person, myself, can't do a whole lot to change the system. But I can try my best to inspire others to, because like this frustration, we can find solidarity and commiseration. Misery does love company, and I understand that. But if we wallow, then what's the point of life? Like, there's so much better to be had, because joy is resistance. And because of that, we have the opportunity and the options to do something better and different. And here comes the puzzle piece. Who wants to pick up the convo?
So, back to what you were saying, and just about how, like, the division that has grown between the two-party system. And I know we've talked a lot about echo chambers here, too. And I always say, like, this is my echo chamber. So I might be a little bit biased in thinking that, like, oh yeah, like, we got this, you know. But just to, and like, I am optimistic, 100%. Like, you have to be. But otherwise, you won't act, right? If you don't think it's possible, then you won't act. So I definitely believe that in, like, the power and the potential that we all have as people if we come together and collaborate. But again, just to, like, be a little bit more realistic, what happens? I mean, we've seen TikTok already, like, come under fire, and I think on, like, the 15th they're going to be reviewing again to decide if they're going to give TikTok more time or if they're going to try to force them to sell or whatever. I don't know what's going on with that. But the point that I'm trying to make is that, like, what happens if this app goes away? Then how can we all still stay connected and stay organized and, like, still keep putting the word out? That's number one, the one thing that I wanted to mention. And then the other thing is, like, just connecting different movements. I think that's what we're all trying to do here. But I also kind of just want to stress that, like, I think there should be a sense of urgency, because the division and the political unrest is rising. And, like, with the other day's events, everybody knows about that. That's on the media everywhere. Everybody knows about it. You can't, like, unless you live under a rock, you've heard about it. But I doubt that as many people are hearing about the conversations that we're having and the things that we're trying to do. So JL Friday talks about it a lot, about how, like, potentially maybe just using some of the same terminology and making posts where we're all reiterating the same terminology creates familiarity in people's minds to, like, continue to bring more awareness to, like, the fact that this is happening, that there are people who are trying to make positive differences in the world. So I think that that's really powerful. And the other thing is, I started saying connectioning and connecting the different movements. I know that there's someone on here who's trying to create a decentralized internet platform where we can all use our phones as the servers so that we don't have to rely off of, like, big tech servers. And then there's also Chiara Sakura, who's trying to build, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name right, forgive me if I'm not, but she's trying to build a new social media app that's like TikTok, but basically a co-op, a member-owned version of TikTok called Tao Social. And they started off with the name People Talk, but they voted on the name Tao Social. And I think she's been running into some roadblocks of being able to build it because of not having funding, and she's trying to, like, basically crowdsource building it and, like, have it be kind of like open source and built by the public and owned by the public and everything, but it's moving slowly because of that. So I keep thinking about, like, what if we could fast track those movements? Like, I think that decentralized internet and, like, collectively owned social media platforms could be huge in, like, pushing the movement and, like, making progress for the movement, because before I saw what Chiara was trying to do with Tao Social, I had an idea for, like, trying to create a new social media platform that was collectively owned, that essentially would, like, use all their ad revenue, because TikTok generates, like, $16 billion per year in ad revenue. What if we had an app like TikTok that was collectively owned, that we could get as many people to use, and then we just took all that revenue and put it into, like, a fund that we could either use as, like, maybe a lottery, where, you know, maybe people could keep buying in and putting more money into the pot to fund community projects that we vote on, or maybe it doesn't even have to be a lottery. Maybe it's just the ad revenue is the pot, and we could vote on, like, what we want to put it back into, either reinvest it back into the platform or maybe use it for, like, social causes, like social media for social causes. Use the ad revenue that we're generating, because it's coming from our data, right? Like, that's what makes the ad revenue valuable. That's what makes the ad space valuable, is the fact that it's our data. We're giving away our data and letting people have it. I mean, like TikTok is essentially selling it, and we're not getting anything out of it other than the dopamine hit and the entertainment that we get from scrolling this app. And in the new world, where again AI is becoming more and more prevalent, and it's going to start taking more and more jobs, people need to start like putting their foot down and saying, my data is obviously valuable. It's worth $16 billion. Why is that not going back to the people?
Yep.
Why is that not being used to fund things that to solve the problems that are plaguing us right now?
So you hit on a couple of really big things, because like we talk about the need for new language, but I'm going to use some really, really old school language to talk about this. What you've discussed as our digital assets is basically a new form of being a proletariat. Like they can now make money from us multiple ways. It's not just our labor, it's also our data. And so these things are absolutely linked into the future of like what this expands, especially if we're going to keep the internet around. We have to be smart about these ideas, and it's going to take, taking this new concept of, people being data mined and, like as a way to sell ads. And it's like, there's a whole bunch of really insidious things behind it that people don't understand. That they sign away. That's what every agreement that you sign at the top of like signing up for like a new website or what have you, like all of that legalese that nobody reads, like the South Park episode. It's full of that kind of stuff of like being able to capture that stuff, sell it to people, so that way those people can more effectively advertise to you. And like, honestly, on a long enough timeline, the consumer story is pushing us like cattle into the slaughterhouse. That's really what's happening. And so, yes, like our labor and our data are kind of absolutely like almost one and the same. Like, don't be wrong, our data is much more passive because it's like it's our habits here online. It's where we go in the world, because these are basically in our pockets at all times. I'll tell you what's really fun is like being in this day and age and being like, you know what, my phone needs to charge, so I'm gonna leave it at home while I go to dinner. Because like that when I've gone to dinner with friends has been like, whoa, wait, where's your phone? It's like, it's back at home. What are you talking about? It's back at home. Like, I don't carry it with me everywhere. And so, like, but that's such a concept for people. Like, it's a lifeline for some. And because of that, the data brokers, like, it's become a whole system. It's a whole insidious system on the back end. And so, like, understanding that and moving forward is one of the reasons why I'm so big about talking about the attention economy, which is what we're participating in this space. Anytime you pull out your phone, you are participating in that same attention economy that is draining your data. And it is a whole piece of the puzzle for sure. It's connected to the conversation as everything is. Not one that we've actually broached yet, though, because like that also ties into like, well, I mean, we did kind of cover it though. I'll say the critical thinking and media literacy did touch on topics that were kind of like that. We didn't get too deep, but yeah, I'd say it's one of those. I don't know. It's a phenomenal thing because we pair that with the idea of the social contract being broken and what we can do, like what the options are moving forward. The blackout the system movement, no work, no purchasing. For me, I'm not giving them my attention either. Like I said earlier, if y'all see me on this app, I failed. Which I'm going to be real busy with some other work and stuff like that to keep myself satiated from spaces like this. And because I find that withdrawing our attention is going to be another piece of this movement, maybe not this wave, but several waves down the way, I think unplugging from the internet for a couple of days will make that data collection system crash. And so like I'm trying it out now with this 5 days, but I think I'd advocate for it stronger on the other side. Alura, thank you so much for joining us today, for dropping into the conversation. How you doing?
Hello. Someone said Citizens United, and I appeared.
Love that.
But no, I am actually. I'm not going to be able to stay on super long. I am actually in the middle of getting ready to. Oh, I have the filter on, so you can't see it. But I'm getting ready to go to New Jersey to do an event with one of the candidates that's taken our political integrity pledge. So I am packing up her flyers. I'm about to hit the road. It's a 6-hour drive for me. And you can hear the children in the background. Rylan, please stop. I understand you're coming with me. I understand. I know. But as you guys were talking about, Somebody said, do you have summers for Congress? You can check our website. It's moneyoutapolitics.org. And there is a listing that says Candidate Integrity Pledge on our website, and that will give you every single candidate that's signed up to take the pledge. We do not endorse candidates. Any candidate from any political party is welcome to take the pledge. So if there's a candidate that you are passionate about and you want to see take the money out pledge, you are, Rylan, you are not being kind right now. I told you that I was in a conversation. Can you please go back in the living room? I am doing that. Okay.
This is the reason we're doing it. This is the reason we're doing it. It's for the children. It's for the children.
No, go in the living room. But, so, as far as Citizens United goes, there are 2 constitutional amendments in process right now. One is Move to Amend, and the other one is by American Promise. The Move to Amend amendment is called the We the People Amendment, and I cannot remember the name of American Promise's amendment. But they both do the same thing. They seek to end the corrupting influence of Citizens United in our political landscape. If I was more prepared, I'd have the amendments to read to you, but we have partnered with Move to Amend, as well as the Take It Back movement. Corey's a wonderful guy. I really wish I had more time to spend with him. We've just been really, really busy. But I am so grateful that you guys are using your platform to speak up. I am going to shut up now so that I can go get my kid.
I really appreciate all of the work that you are, like, your boots on the grounding for a lot of people, and that is to be celebrated and commended. So thank you so much for doing the things. And yeah, we're doing this for, like, don't get me wrong, I would love to be able to predict that, like, we change so much of society. By the time that I'm 60, the world is a completely different and beautiful place. Like, that's what I'm really shooting for. I want to see it. But I also understand that I'm planting seeds for trees I'll never sit under the shade of. And, like, that's okay with me too, because, like, little ones, laughter and craziness and stuff like that, that's part of the package. So, and as admittingly, as frustrating as they can be at times, it's beautiful, it's precious, and that's the reason for society. That's the reason we want to continue and make the world a better place. So thank you for doing everything that you do. And Matthew, thank you for joining us so much. I really appreciate you coming in, my friend. I would love to hear some thoughts. You did join us for one last week, or for the first half of the season, but I'm having a hard time remembering which one it was.
That's okay, because I've been sparked by everything that everybody's saying right now, so I'm here and I'm present for what folks are saying in this moment, and I think it's a beautiful thing. And so thank you for having this space and having these minds and these hearts and these spirits come together in this time. I just wanted to toss in from the little bit that I've heard this evening and listening to things for us to go beyond. Okay, it's, to me, for me, it's not about winning or losing. It's being in relation. It's being in relation with the planet. It's being in relation with one another. It's being in relation with mind, body, and spirit, because we're spending so much time here just in our head, and that's my judgment, and I own that. And time again, I keep hearing folks trying to think our way out of it. And the brain, academia, civilized, etc., has been weaponized time and time again. Ageism, sexism, homophobia, racism, ableism, all these isms, right, have been used in ways to keep us separate. And I'm not saying anything new here. And yet it's also kept us separate from this. I shouldn't just be thinking of things. I should be feeling things. It's in me cellularly. It's in my gut. Gaslighting has caused me to not trust my gut. It's taken me a lot of healing to get back to trusting my gut. And then my heart, right? That idea of that there are more neurons than in the brain along our vagus nervous system between our heart and our stomach. And so why are we trying to stay separate from that? And then why are we going down where possibly we are being finagled and corralled to go down instead of dreaming way beyond that. And so 2 of the books, one is my own that I wrote with Brittany Zwarn, Biggest, Fullest, Brightest, Shifting the Consciousness of Humanity. The idea behind this is that we all have colonizer illness. We all need healing. Thank you, LaRinda. We all have a place for us to expand from, instead of hierarchical thinking that I'm above anything. And then the other is Freedom Dreams by Robin D.G. Kelly. And the knowledge in this book, the inspiration and the sparks that are given in this book to actually take things beyond. So I'll land here. I was fortunate to help start a school, and it was with a Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation grant, right? Take their money, give it back to the kids. Yes, I will. And so the people who had gone through this process before, the coaches that came along, they were like, what you really need to make sure that you do is move as far away from that comprehensive high school idea. Because when the big trouble starts to come, some of those big problems, you're going to run back to the old way of doing things because you know how to solve things there. And I took that to heart. And I also started to apply it to other aspects of my life. If I'm truly healing from some of these indoctrinations, who is the authentic me? How much of my thinking is my thinking? And all of my work is based on that. And so not until I really start moving away from the me that was indoctrinated into supremacy culture, that was indoctrinated into all these isms that I was knowingly and unknowingly using, not until I start to really truly move as far away from that as I possibly can, will I then begin to create something that is new. Do not invite me to your table. Build a new table with me. It's got to be building a new table. Otherwise, we're just going to keep sliding back and not knowing that we're upholding those old indoctrinations because they've wiggled their way in. They've had 600 years, and yet they've only had 600 years. There are indigenous groups that can trace themselves back, carbon measuring and all that stuff, 10,000 years. It's only been 600. We can get rid of that and really expand into something brand new. So don't forget those sparks. Don't forget that we are so much more than what we're giving ourselves credit for. And keep dreaming. Go even further. Freedom dreams, y'all. Thank you for this space again. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. Mr. Reynolds, I would really, really dearly love to talk to you. I don't want to interrupt her live about how you guys were able to get the grant for the school through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. There is a local teacher in my community that opened up a school specifically for disabled children. She actually cashed out her own 401k to open the school and has put her whole life and legacy on the line to build this place. It is an amazing school, and they have over 100 disabled children on the wait list to join the school, and she wants to take on more kids, but she doesn't know how to find the funding to expand so that she can serve more children. So I would really love to get to talk to you and to potentially get you in touch with her about expanding or how you got the grant so that she can work on expanding what she does. Like I said, she built a school that is specifically for disabled children. My son has attended one of her programs. I cannot tell you how much of a miracle this woman is in our community. And my son is one of, like I said, hundreds of kids on the wait list to go to her school. And I would dearly love to be able to help her continue building her dream.
2 really quick things for you. It was an OSSI grant, so Oregon Small Schools Initiative grant, which they no longer do. But Michelle, forget her last name because she didn't keep the last name, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, she's all about giving money to people, his money specifically to people. So I would direct you in her direction, as a place. If she's got grant writers that are working with her, to definitely go to her money, kind of thing, because she's looking for things exactly like what you just explained to be given money to. So that's
We
my
have grant writers. We have a bunch of parents that have been running fundraisers and doing our best, and just don't. We're all trying this for the first time. Like I said, she quit her job at the public school, in our local public school district, because she felt like they weren't doing enough for our disabled students, and she has cashed out her own retirement, to build a school centered around universal design for mentally disabled kids. And I cannot, like I said, I have a disabled child that really struggles with self-harm because of his disability. And after 3 days in summer camp with her, it stopped. And I cannot tell you, as a parent that spent way too many nights in the ER because my child has hurt themselves until they bled, that she is, there's so much. But we don't know anything about the grant process. And this is not me talking about money out of politics. This is my personal life, my community. She doesn't really know anything about the grant process. Like I said, she was just a teacher that had a dream and wanted to help these kids. The other wonderful thing that she does with the school is she hires disabled adults as teachers. So not only does she, create the school for autistic children, but most, if not all of her teachers, are also on the autism spectrum.
Right on. That's beautiful. I will say that this space is for connecting people, so I'm glad you all got to meet today, and I'm glad that there's also more options. What We Got US also offers help for you in the grant writing area and stuff. As they said, it's a specialty. So then with that, I'm really quickly going to say we've crossed the hour mark. We are just steamrolling ahead on the entirety of the conversation, and it's beautiful. It's such a beautiful thing to see. Y'all, this feels spiritual to me. I'm not gonna lie. So thank you for being here. Thank everybody who's down in the chat and keeping us going. What was beautiful is you just laid out the exact specific example of somebody being so inspired to go do something different and create their own parallel system to do better by other people in their community. That times 1,000. And then 5 years down the road, we're going to see such a beautiful, better society the more people engage. And so we just have this idea of crafting those ways forward. And over time, it's going to happen. It's not going to happen quickly, but it's going to happen. Thank you all so much for being here. And I'm just going to open up the conversation. Just whoever wants to speak, whoever's moved.
Well, if I could hop in real quick, I do have to get going, Tripp. I'm sorry. It was tough for me for the parenting night. So I got to go and help with that in a minute too. But if I could then, because I feel comfortable doing this because it's not I wasn't the one who created the momentum. It was Isaiah with the blackout. But this is really what our next phase is. So kind of back to what Tori was saying about getting everybody under one group. This is what we are doing. I believe that we are going to try to make some of the channels more of a collective, to get some of those ideas out there, get other faces to put stuff out there where it's like, hey, yeah, we've got the pressure campaign. We are pushing back against this, but we are also doing this. We are also doing this. We are also doing this. And with the amount of people that we have signed up, that's the big issue with all this, right? Is jumping on that tilt-a-whirl. I don't know what is going on with the air. Usually we have no airplanes around us, so if it gets too loud, let me know. Jumping on that tilt-a-whirl is one thing in the carnival, but it's almost like we got to hit that algorithm momentum to be able to get seen by people that we are jumping on that tilt-a-whirl. And I think that's really where we're coming in with the momentum that the blackout has gained. It's like, oh, yes, people are watching, people are looking. Now let's go ahead that we've got their attention. We have the blackout coming up. People are kind of like, oh, what's doing next? And yeah, we'll do another blackout, but it's like we're going to partner. Part of it is No Kings has the term. They've been using the term blackout coming up for their October. We'll figure out one in November. But to me, what's more important for that is connecting all of these groups under one umbrella. And that's where I am, better with saying that because like I wasn't the one who created the umbrella. So it's like, hey, look, take it back. Already went under this umbrella and was like, hey, let's all do this. And that's what I think it really is now is we've captured some eyeballs. So now it's like, yeah, so what do we got that we're going to be putting out there? Because we've got What You Got US. We've are completely partnering with Lawrence and trying to spread what they are doing across the freaking nation. And they've already got the tiers set up. And I think then eventually what it all comes down to is everything Matthew was saying before is what we are trying to do. Get people to think, what is the reason we are here? What is the reason that we've built this society? What have we been fed with that we don't even realize? And to take away these assumptions and predispositions about ourselves that we have and to really get people to think about it. And it's that critical thinking that we are really trying to do. So I think that's where, with everybody on the panel, essentially, Money Out of Politics has already been one of the people that we are partnering with. Anytime we hear about it, we're sending them their way. But I think that's, you know, kind of what I end with. Would love to connect with every single person here because what we are doing is we are really trying to build that umbrella. I think we've had 7,000 people sign up for free stickers just in the last 40 days or so. And then add on top of that, all of the different engagement that's been happening, and not to mention with the blackout coming next week, what I really think we're trying to do is kind of like, hey, phase 2 is all of us putting in the work. Here's how this individual is putting in the work. Here's how this group is putting in the work. Here are these ideas that we're trying to spread with these shared phrases, with this shared information. And yeah, we're really excited to create that with all of y'all, because that's absolutely going to be the next step.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for coming, my friend, and spending time with us today, and sharing the perspective. Just for everything that you've been doing, the daily lives and everything is just such an inspiration moving forward. I look forward to not being here the 16th through the 20th and doing that stacked impact with y'all in solidarity offline. But yeah, I'll go ahead and let you go today. Thank you again for being here. It was perfect for last words. Awesome. And then just before I introduce Tony into the mix, I want to go ahead and go over, somebody asked about what the blackout the system actually means. And what we're trying to do is an all-out boycott, blackout, no spending, no work, and for me, no attention. The idea is we withdraw all of our ability to make this system productive for the 5 days is the 16th through the 20th. If you cannot participate for 5 days, we ask that you at least participate on the 17th, which is Constitution Day. That is the day when everybody's impact fully matters. But we encourage those to take as many days as they can, 2, 3, 4, or the full 5, just as a way to not spend, not be productive in this version of society, as a small way to show solidarity with each other, then slow spending on the other side, not a rush to buy the goods and go out and all those kinds of things, but it's a way to build the solidarity, the first wave, into what's next, because this is an ongoing process. This is not something that's going to be easily done overnight. And I hope that was enough to explain. You can check out more at blackoutthesystem.com, I think, or .org. And you can also check out Take It Back. The Take It Back movement has some links in their bio. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn the conversation, because we're running through time really quickly. I might go ahead, since Tony was late, might go a little bit longer than 2 hours, since it is the finale. It is the finale, after all. Tony, thank you so much for joining us. I've heard that it's been a day. Thank you for still showing up to the conversation. I do appreciate you being here.
I'm just glad all of you are out there doing the thing, which is why we talk about community, because when one can't, someone else can. Because inevitably, somebody's life is going to be on fire next. It just so happens to be mine right now. So I had some fires to attend to today, and I'm happy that I'll be able to rest easy tonight, knowing that I did. But tomorrow might be someone else's fire, and I'll have to fill the space. So thanks for doing this. It's great to see all of you. What have I missed? Everything? Did we fix everything? Are we done?
Far from it. So
We're all
far
done.
from it.
Sweet.
But
Great. I'm glad the world's a better place.
well,
First
okay,
of all,
so
I'd like to thank the Academy.
Boy, first of all, okay, so I want to take this perspective with you, because you and I have shown up all 5 days of this conversation. Not that that's a knock to anybody. This conversation's large, and the idea is to have rotating people so that way we get different perspectives. But you and I are in a unique position where we have at least sat here for some of the time, every single day this week, having pieces of the overall conversation. So my question to you is, how do you feel given the events and stuff that have happened this week, how do you feel overall the conversation's going?
To me, the events this week only crystallize the importance of the things that we discuss in these spaces. Because it's really easy to be chill when things are chill. When things are relatively peaceful in your neck of the woods, if you happen to be far away from the stormtroopers, then it's easy to be chill. It's easy to be kind to your neighbor, no matter who they are, what they believe. It tends to be a lot easier. But if we're going to sit here and talk about solidarity, we're going to talk about community building, we're going to talk about all of the very difficult things that lie ahead to revitalize this country and our hope for tomorrow, then it's really only going to count if we can do that when the sky is falling. Because like I always say, you can get a DeLorean and Doc Brown and Michael J. Fox, and you can pick a year, pick any year, and Earth is on fire. And some humans were responsible. No matter what color clothes they wear, what color their skin is, what god they happen to be dancing to at that point in history, we've all taken turns experiencing the flame and starting the flame. And this is when it counts the most. The healers, the thinkers, the movers, the shakers, the builders. This is when it matters the most. And so, how do I feel about the conversation? I feel like it's as important as it ever was. And I dare say that it's just another Tuesday. For some
True,
people,
except it's Friday.
Well, it's a saying. But what I'm trying to say is a lot of people, I'm noticing some of my videos are getting traction. And a lot of these other ones where I'm talking about parallel systems, people are confused. They don't see how any of the things we discuss here are going to change the world. And this is the part where I have to say we got to humble ourselves. And I say it often, and I'll say it every time, and I'm not trying to be a buzzkill because I like to party too. Let's keep the vibes going. But at some point we have to realize that brick by brick, little by little, day by day, from me to my child, her to the children of her next generation, like this is how it happens. Just constantly reminding humanity that there are builders, there are thinkers, there are movers, shakers, healers. And I don't want anybody to forget it. This is when it matters. And we have to humble ourselves. Anybody who's trying to shift this entire world, the cultures that live on it, and the way that we go about our lives, when they're trying to shake that up overnight, I promise you they do not have your best interest at heart. They don't. Because anybody who knows anything knows that this is a way of life we're talking about, not a monster. There is no Darth Vader. There is no Emperor. You can't just take one out and we all celebrate with the Ewoks. It's not what happens next. It's not. Every generation has villains, and everyone has people who are misled, propagandized. Trouble's always around the corner. Again, hop in that DeLorean. Earth's on fire. And I think that we are the bulwark. We are the root system. We are the rain that comes. Like, we just always have to be present. We always have to be there. And we have to teach the kids of today to be there in this way, so that the next generation has that bulwark. They have that root system. They have the rain to water it. And that's it. That's all. I have no delusions of grandeur that I want to fix everything in my lifetime, that I'll actually see these changes. I don't. And if I were so lucky, cool. How fortunate am I? But the last thing I'll say, because I know we're on final words, so this might as well be my first and last words.
No, we're going longer today.
Okay, all right. Well, then I'll just land the plane and say that I have no delusions of grandeur, and I hope that no one else does either. Because 7 billion people is a lot. And if we have to change all these hearts and minds away from violence, away from supremacy, me being better than you, having more than you, it's going to take time. It's going to take time. We need a whole lot of Mr. Rogers and LeVar Burtons out there, touching people's hearts and changing their minds and proving that not all human beings are trash bags. It starts with us, and it's little by little, day by day. So how do I feel about the overall conversation? As good as I've ever felt. And as troubled as I've been this last couple days, I also know that these are the fires that test everything that we're talking about here. So there you go.
Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Poignant as always. And I really, again, I just appreciate you being here. We're going to go ahead and just open up whoever's inspired to talk about this conversation. I don't want to really point in any one direction, but who's got some? LaRinda, please.
Yeah. So many things. Like, so I was like, oh, I'm thinking of poems and I want to draw pictures and like all this kind of stuff. But I want to go off of what Tony was saying of, like I'm definitely not taking what you're saying as one up on my parade at all. Cause, I was having this conversation with somebody the other day and I was talking about what my visions of what we want to have. We're going to change the world, right? Or as Matthew says, we're going to craft a better world, craft another world. And they said, yeah, oh, like that can never happen in your lifetime though. Like they were trying to like give me perspective. I'm like, I know that. Like, I know, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with, I'm not going to maybe see this utopia that's in my brain, but I want to help us get there. And this goes with this idea of, a sense of urgency, that like progress is like bigger, more, and when we take those senses of urgency and we just replace real quick and we do these things because we want to see like big progress, sometimes we replace it with something that's equally as oppressive, that is a mask for the old way, but it's the same way, and so just having that perspective is good, of knowing I might not live to see, I probably won't live to see, what I have in my head to fruition. It might be completely different in 100 years of what can be too, but like that doesn't take away any of my hope. And I just want to encourage people to not have you take away your hope either. And we were talking about like planting seeds, and I just keep thinking of this line from this song, and I don't know which art. It's a Macklemore song. It's one of the like pro-Palestine songs, and it's a Palestinian artist on it that says it, that sings it, that I don't remember their name, but it says, they can bury us, but they did not know we were seeds. And that's just a line that sticks into my head all the time. So as we think about it, when they kick us down, like it doesn't matter. Like we've made ripples in the world, right? Like I told you, Tripp, like these panels have helped me come out of my shell, help me game. I'm sorry?
The name of the artist, they can bury us, but they will find out we are seeds. That's a niece.
Thank you.
Random facts. He's a really great Palestinian artist, and he was also raised by a preacher in DC, and he actually grew up going to events with MLK when he was a little kid. So he's got a really cool backstory if you don't know him.
Thank you. I did forget the names. I know I followed him on social media, but I forget names. So I was going to have to look things up to get them back in your feed. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. But that's just what I wanted to say, is that. And we were talking about, just really quick, because I was like, oh my God, maybe I'm also on that arts thing because of Wednesday, because it's been very, very much on my mind. And I just keep thinking about, like you're talking about boots and like, oh, it's like pull you up by your bootstraps, this and that. And I have this like last little lines of a poem that I wrote, and because I just like poetry. And it is, we spin tales of an American dream and we create invisible currency. These tales pull our bootstraps so taut, they fray with every tug. But there are more boots than not, yet we live like we forgot. So just wanted to throw that out there. That's what we're doing, right? We're just bringing people together. So
absolutely beautiful and definitely on point for sure. Tori, did you have some words for us?
Yeah, so I love what you said about ripples. Like we've made ripples, and just to play devil's advocate a little bit and go back to what Tony was saying, the word ripples is humbling. This is like a time where I'm like, yes, we should be humble, because down here in the water, when you feel the ripple because you're in it, it feels like a huge tidal wave. But when you zoom out and you look at it from, the macro level, it's just a ripple. So But I also think that, like, being in that ripple, like, we can choose to live in that ripple. Like, we choose the realities that we create for ourselves. We choose what we get to experience, not 100% of everything, but we largely get to choose a lot of what we get to experience based on the way that we interact with the world. And so I want to just keep reiterating that even if we don't change the whole world, that doesn't mean that we can't change our own lives or the lives of people around us and people who are ready to rise up and create something different. And that's, like, really the reason why I started doing what I'm doing, because I want to create spaces that will allow that to happen. I know that, like, the idea of communes and eco-villages aren't for everybody. A lot of times when I talk about what I want to try to do with, like, family members, I've actually been told that it sounds retarded because people just think of, like, the traditional hippie commune, but I really see it as, like, a much larger vision than that. I want to create micro-communities that put all the things that we've been talking about into practice. Like, all of the conversations that we've been having, like the food sovereignty, the creativity as a means of healing and connecting. And I 100% think that that's possible. Even if we don't change the whole world, we can create spaces like that in this world that are safe spaces for people to have good experiences, regardless of the chaos that's going on around us, regardless of whether the fires keep burning. We could just keep trying our best to put them out and enjoy life while it lasts.
Go ahead, Tony.
Matthew's already unmuted. If you got something, I'll go after you.
Yeah, go ahead, Matthew.
Tony. I just have an invitation to Tori. The R word that you used is just like the N word with the hard R on the end for me. So if we're in spaces together, try not to use that R word, even if it was used by somebody else towards you, kind of thing. If you could say the R word, I would be very appreciative of that. Thank you.
Absolutely. I apologize, and I hear what you're saying, and I understand, so I'll definitely take that into consideration next time.
Always love a learning moment. Tony, I believe you had some words?
I do. So there's a couple things when we talk about the slow change revolution, and I want to lead with this. Right now, this week, we all understand there's a lot of political and social volatility going around. There's a lot of question marks. People are worried. They're confused. They're angry. And not everybody loves my takes. I get it. But the people who do find my takes, who find solace in that, they're relieved. It feels like a home. It feels like a warm inn on a very snowy, icy journey that has soup and fire. They're like, oh my gosh, I found my people. Oh my gosh, I'm on the right side of TikTok. Now that's for my content. And again, not everybody's going to like it. But it is what it is. So it's just proof that someone like me exists and I have the courage to say what I think. And I think that goes for all of us. When someone finds our respective content and they say, oh my God, I am so happy I found you. It's you being the example. And now that's just with ideas. And so we move this forward into action. When we run into somebody who has a program, an after-school program, a summer camp, a food co-op, maybe they have some sort of transportation program to help people get to and from places, alternatives to public transportation if there aren't any pieces of infrastructure. We see this all over the world. We're seeing ideas pop up of how we can do this outside of the realm of corporations, right? That's a huge thing. And the people who are pioneers in those spaces, when we find them, we say, oh, thank God somebody's out here doing the thing that gives me an alternative to these massive conglomerates. And that's the proof. And so when we talk about being ripples, it can be something as small as a kind gesture at the bank or the grocery store in traffic, all the way up to creating parallel systems and being one of those parallel pioneers. Or maybe you're doing advocacy work, or you're doing direct activism in DC or your respective state house or your respective municipality. All of these things, to me, count as those bricks. And I'm trying to take this slow because I sometimes I am on like chapter 13 and I forget that not everybody is nerdy and hasn't touched grass like I have. Or has skipped the touching of grass as much as I have throughout my life and reading about this stuff. So I'm just trying to take it slow. Right now, our options for political change are limited. Right now, our options for products, goods, services, it's all limited. It seems all the power and all the money is concentrated and flowing in one direction, and it seems to be away from us. So changing the system overnight doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. There's no red button that we can press to do it. So this space, you're going to see a lot of different kinds of people with different angles. They have different reasons and motivations for being here. Oftentimes we're coming from different sides of a political aisle that we used to honor, but no longer honor or trust. And so here we are, and we're trying to make sense of what we can actually do tangibly in our daily lives to start to affect the kind of change we want to see. Prosperous communities, opportunity for people to start building prosperity and generational wealth. Because I feel like a healed country or a healing country is going to be primed and in a much better position to handle some of these more devastating cultural issues that we have at hand. Because as we can see this week, we are in no mental or spiritual condition to handle one another right now. Some of us can, and that's what this space is for. This is for those of us seeking refuge from that storm. And in this space, we're talking about the little and the big things that each of us can do, given our capacity for energy and time at that point, to start to shift it away from this degenerate storm of hatred that we see sweeping not just this country, but the world. And that's what this is about. And so, don't feel overwhelmed. Don't feel like you need to be the next major political figure or you need to be some martyr constantly falling on the sword. That's not what this is about. This is about us pulling ourselves up by the collective bootstrap. Bootstrapping is an insane concept when you're looking at somebody and asking them to do it alone. And we've all found that out in one way, shape, or form. It's hard to do it alone. And if you have, good for you, man. You're lucky. Even in the light of your hard work, I'm sure that it took to get there. But collectively, this is something we do together. This bootstrapping is possible, but it's better when we do it together. And it's way more likely that we're going to affect that kind of prosperity and generational wealth for way more people. So this is a decent, in my opinion, I'm not going to speak for everybody here, but in my opinion, what I'm seeing is a decentralized movement of localists, people who are very interested in sparking this kind of change where they can see it, monitor it, and hold it accountable and be a part of it. And it has to be, I get the giggle there from that comment. But this is decentralized. We don't need to be COINTELPRO'd like the Black Panthers were. We don't need to be shut down like indigenous peoples were. Like, we're avoiding all of that, in my opinion, which is why this is nameless. It's faceless. There is no leader. There's no headquarters. There's no political movement. There's no fancy person in a suit that we're going to put in front of everybody to say, hey, this person represents all our ideals. That tends to not work out very well for us, as we found out over and over again for like 6,000 years of recorded human history. So this is decentralized. There are no delusions of grandeur about changing the world overnight. We're just trying to find the next best possible, plausible step, which might look different from me than it does to any of you. And that's where I'll shut up, Tripp. Thank you.
No, you inspired me to speak to something, because I feel like when we very first met several years ago, I had this concept of like everybody's just waiting for, the team of people to lead forward. The George Washingtons and the stuff that we've been told, like, it's the small group of people moving us forward. And usually, in a tinfoil kind of way, the centralization of movements has led to people being in crosshairs. And so you speak about decentralized movement, the idea that this revitalization is so boots on the ground. There is no real leader. There's just a concept that we all kind of agree to in that paradigm shift, that citizen story and actual participation in our world on the day-to-day, small lunchbox job type stuff, those ripples. You're absolutely right. And it's like those, there is no full one tip of the spear. There is no one charismatic leader with that grand vision that we're all going to look at starry-eyed and be willing to follow. Because the minute that person arises, things happen. unfortunately. And that's not speaking to like what happened this week or anything specifically. It's just over time in movements, we can see history rhyming with certain ideals that, you know, they don't want that. There's contingency plans is what I'll say. And I'll try and drop the tinfoil from here, because the real point of it is that no matter what the causes on the outside of it are, the belly to belly, face to face things that you do in your community absolutely matters. And it matters that the most important where you are, where you're at with what you have. And so that level of engaging doesn't need a leader. It just needs you to be inspired to move. I really want to say thank you, everybody who's been in this conversation. I mean it. It feels spiritual to me. It really does. And thank you to the newcomers who are in the chat and stuff for the first time today and sometimes this week. I really appreciate y'all following along, and hopefully we can do a little bit to inspire you. Now, I will say we'll give it another 15 minutes or so before we go into final words, because I'm having so much fun with this, and I did promise it'd go longer than 2 hours. But you know, it's one of those things where this conversation can go a lot of different ways. Matthew, I'd love to hear from you next if you have some words.
I just want to say I love decentralization. I love conversation about decentralization. I do want to give credit where credit is due, that the Black Panther Party created what we in modern organizing consider decentralization. And I say that as the child of a Panther. And also the lesson that we need to learn from the Black Panther movement is not solely about, the interference of the FBI. I think one of the lessons and one of the things that led to the failure of the Panther Party was their failure to address misogyny within the party and within party leadership. And that was something that my mom experienced firsthand as a woman that was a part of the movement. So while there is plenty to criticize of the Panthers, decentralization is not one of them. That's all.
Thank you so much for coming in with that tidbit. I really appreciate you sharing that. Go ahead, Matthew.
Thank you so much. Tony, one of the things that you said was language, right? And so it's important to me to make sure that as I have been learning and unlearning and experiencing discomfort and experiencing resistance within my own system to all of that learning and unlearning and discomfort and everything, that I make sure that I'm using language. And it also comes from being in the classroom as well and having a whole bunch of different types of learners in front of me and having to differentiate my classroom and explain it multiple times again and again, and to not get worn down by that, but to get inspired by that and get curious about that. I use the word world in the work that I do. All my work is based on the question, how much of your thinking is your thinking? How much of my thinking is my thinking? My front-loading email for my work is called Let the Healing Begin. And so it's looking at the work of folks like Resma Minicum, My Grandmother's Hands, Dr. Joy DeGruy, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, various folks at the People's Institute for Survival and Beyond, the Black Panther movement, et cetera, the ideas of epigenetics. It's this idea of, when I use the word world, I am crafting a world. It means the world that I inhabit. So I'm inviting people individually to be introspective and to heal these aspects of their understanding of their lived experience of how they've been indoctrinated into the very things that we in this room, it feels to me, are pushing up against. Because my experience as a non-binary, melanated, cis male in this world is completely different from somebody else's. And, being 56 years old, et cetera, being a teacher, a multimedia performance artist, lived in other countries, blah, 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 all these things, right, come into consideration when I look at this idea and concept of world. And so world to me is where I am present in this moment, where I'm trying to be present, where I'm grounded, because the past is our education, the future is our inspiration, and the present moment is our creation. So what am I creating in this time? when I come together with folks here. And so that's the only world that I feel, I'm sorry, I keep pointing at my arm because I have it tattooed on my arm. But that's the world that I'm talking about. And I think it's important for folks to understand that they are part of the world, that their world does matter, that their world has every right to be worthy and dignity of their story and to share their story and to put that story out and into the world and not to let anybody else tell their story for them. And I think that inspiring, upholding, lovingly supporting without delusions of grandeur that it's going to be easy. It's work with a capital W. It's all going to be work. And that is something at the end of the day that I can smile about and be like, yeah, I did that work today and it feels badass. And it was really fucking hard to go through all of that. And it feels really good. And I'm going to smile as I fall asleep tonight. So once again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to disrupt, to be able to share my truth, give some clarity on where I am coming from specifically. So thank you again for the sparks, everyone. Love you all.
It's absolutely brilliant, the ways that people will show up in good faith to a conversation like this with their honest perspective. Their experiences of their lifetime is built upon, who they are and how they're presenting with the words that they're sharing and everything. And I am grateful to have so many of you willing to sit with me in times like this and have, these conversations and co-create with us, and help inspire as many people as that we can. Because of course, there is this moment right now where we are live action broadcasting through TikTok and have a wonderful crowd that is supporting us. There's also, loads of these up on the tube of you under the link in my bio if you want to be further inspired. And, this will be episode 20. Technically 21 if you count the housing one I did on Saturday, but I didn't put that in the season. But that's one of those things where now we've had different facets of this conversation. And like season 1, we covered education for all. We covered ethical consumption, different political strategies. Everything goes a lot of places. I'm already gotten so inspired this week by having these conversations with different people about what season 3 is going to look like. Don't be wrong. There's a hiatus. There's some time. I have other things to do, but I already know there's going to be a season 3 because you guys have inspired so many new ideas just by sitting here with me in good faith. So I really appreciate, all of this, all of the work that everybody's doing in their individual lanes, and their ability to take the time and shed a little light with me in this, virtual table space. So that way other people might be able to take an idea and run with it. And there's so much happening on the small scale right now. Like we're all finding our ways to move forward in this world, whether it be, through the different lenses of introspection, of education, of the food, of, arts and all of the different other facets. We're plugging in, and that's brilliant. I love to see it. I understand the idea of this being an echo chamber of itself. It's hard to beat. It is hard to, but I will say that there are people among us who are definite echo chamber breakers. We see that, across ideological disparities and divides, we see people connecting because at the end of the day, there's common questions. And what ends up happening more often than not is that these same common questions are being answered in different ways. And that is where the division is starting, and it's getting deeper because, that game has been played upon us for 50, 100 years till the dawn of civilization, what have you. But we have the choice. There's always a choice to make a more powerful decision in a better direction. And I think we'll go ahead and open up the conversation again one more time. Then the next time I go to speak, I'm going to be starting last word. So who has some things to say? Go ahead.
I do. So I was just thinking about how a couple times I've heard this idea of this is an echo chamber. And I agree that we're working towards the same goal. But when you were saying there are people who disrupt, I think that there are people in here, in the chat, mutuals I have, from you who brought me to other people to, all these things who challenge me, where we can have open conversations with challenging each other, and show the world that we can disagree, we can challenge, and even do it and it's part of healing, I think, is accepting that. As I heard someone say the other day, like, heal loudly. And, you know, that I think is not just being visible in the good things that have come. I mean, it's all good. I think all healing is good, right? But more of those things that like normally you want to keep to yourself, of like, oh, I messed up. Like, I messed up real bad. And having those things of like, when we mess up or could have done something better, put us into inaction. And there was a couple of things I wanted to say, because I was struggling with the idea of an umbrella. And it could also be because I have this in my office where the umbrella isn't the good thing. So I mean, that could be coming from it too, but it makes me feel like I'm being boxed in or like even hierarchical. So I just want to offer like another perspective, because for me, I just need a different approach. And I like to think of webs like these, like little webs all over the place, and then there's these other webs that connect, and then they're bridges. And for me, it's like those connectors. Those are all of the things, and that's just what I need personally for my visual thing of it. But I also wanted to touch on really quick. You know, we're talking about this blackout the system of, we want it to be like a practice, you know, like a scrimmage, I guess. Sorry, I played sports. I tended to go to sports terms, all right? But like a scrimmage of, you know, to practice divestment, right? And I'm kind of excited because actually 3 of those days of the blackout system, I'm going to be taking Matthew's crafting your equity lens workshop. So I already got plans to like be outside this system those days. I don't know, there might still be room in there. Check with Matthew. But I'm so excited for that. So that's really cool. But I want to say, when we talk about the blackout the system and divestment, that try not to get caught up that you have to survive in the way that you have to survive. So there are people who cannot participate in the way that, like, fully, like, can't completely check out that week or can't do this. And even with the investment, we talk about like, hey, let's not use these shops. Let's not do these things. And we're all trying to survive. But the goal for me is to start building the systems, start building the networks that make it easier to divest, right? So it's not, we don't all have the privilege of just being able to be like, okay, I'm never going to use Amazon again, right? You know, we have people who like, maybe that is their only option right now, because that's what they need to survive. They can't leave their house, they can't get around. And, you know, maybe we find those people and say, actually, I can help you. I can bring you things, you know? So it's also looking for those things. And we have this concept we talk about in spaces that I'm in. It's a big one in Eager, a community that I'm with, and of lighthouses, where we want to be the kind of people that people will attract, right? That we don't have to go out. And I mentioned this in the last live, like, I'm literally trained in argumentation. Like, that was my education. I coached high competitive debate. I'm good at it. That's not how it doesn't work though. Like, it doesn't change people's minds, which is a struggle. And then just one other thing that I was kind of wrote down as Tripp, you were talking about like an app of some things, and it's help with your mental health. And for me, one of the biggest things that has helped with my mental health, which was so much anxiety, you know, panic attacks, overthinking, all of this kind of stuff, was first, community. That's very helpful, people to talk to, right? But deconstructing the master's tools. I just want to read these real quick. These are fun. So deconstructing things like fear of open conflict, objectivity, either or thinking, one right way, individualism. Remember, that's different than individuality, as we were talking about earlier. A sense of urgency, worship of the written word, quantity over quality, defensiveness, power hoarding, paternalism, right to comfort, aka I like to also call it politeness, perfectionism, progress is bigger, more, and I'm the only one, also known as exceptionalism. So I also like to think of the final season of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because like we know she was the only one, right? But what really defeated the big bad? they awakened all of the other potential slayers. So it wasn't that she was the only one. But yeah, I'll leave it at that.
I absolutely love that. Thank you so much for those thoughts. I will say, there's so much to the conversation as a whole and to everybody's particular intro to it. And like, I think that one of the things we have expressed a couple of times today and throughout the week is like, we really have to give ourselves grace and, start where we are with what we have. It's a by degree sort of thing. You cannot right out the gate be 100% successful. I know that personally speaking, when my eyes first opened wide and I realized what the solution was, which was buying hyper locally any chance that you can, that is a really good way to buck this system, is to make sure that the person that you're paying is like a person who's in your community, because then that dollar circulates. I've heard it as few as 2 times, and I've heard it as many as 7 times in your economy before it gets leached up to the top. And because of that, once I had that crystallized in my mind, there was, I'd say a month or 2 where I really, really tried not spending any money that I could, like went full tilt, full bore right into it. And it was like, I'm only buying from like the Italian markets. I'm like the Mexican markets and, like anywhere, any chance I could. And like, don't be wrong, that was not successful. Although what was really fun about that experiment, and what I will give credit to, is that my husband and I started thinking outside the box about the way we fed ourselves, just in general. Because like before I woke up from the grindstone, I was one of those that was totally okay with like spending all of my disposable income on like just food, like not having to work and cook, like not having the time and capacity to cook for myself. I was fine with trading my hard-earned labor for somebody else to do it for me. And like that was going to keep me perpetually right where I was for the rest of my life if I didn't wake up from it. And so it's little things like that. And like, don't be wrong, you can't flip a switch overnight and end up being in a space where everything's peachy keen. But what you can do is start making connections in community to get creative, to find ways around the system. We've talked about big things like childcare. We've talked about little things like, just hosting a potluck or dinner, providing a need, trying to find some sort of way to create community, create relationship, and create an experience for another human being will take us in such a better direction than being isolated and individualized in our homes, paying for every single thing. 5 figures for childcare, miss me with that. It's probably one of many, 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 many reasons I decided not to go having the kid route. And like, that's my experience. And my experience is different from every single person on this panels. And I love that, because having the ability to sit with people who see things very differently than I do is I don't know, it's a recipe for creativity. It's a recipe for so much potential to move forward. And again, I am grateful for it. On that note, we're going to go ahead and start with final words. We're going to go counterclockwise since LaRinda spoke last. We'll go ahead and start with Alura with Money Out of Politics, and then just kind of go right way around. Again, just generally, thank y'all for being here, but like sharing y'all's experience with me is a treasure, and I am moved. So thank you so much. Alura, thank you for being here.
I am so glad that I am able to be here. I am sorry that we missed yesterday. As far as final thoughts for you guys, we actually have a bill in Congress right now. It's called the Restore Trust in People in Congress Act. There's a link in our bio. We are doing an email writing phone call campaign for the bill. We already have the 10 Republican votes that we need to get this bill through Congress. Now it is just a matter of getting the Democrats on board. So we started with 16 co-sponsors. We are up to 50 at this point. So the emails and the phone calls are working. And I would urge anyone that's listening to us to send an email. If you can, make a phone call. What's even better is taking a few of your friends and neighbors and going into their physical local offices if you can. That really has a huge impact when it comes to supporting bills like this. And then just talking about and sharing the bill so that other people know that this is in Congress. The purpose of the bill would be to ban members of Congress from trading stocks. And it will pose harsh financial penalties on Congress members for doing so. And not only will there be penalties, but any profits that they make from insider trading will actually get to be reclaimed by the U.S. Treasury. So the money will go directly back to the people if they get caught doing this. And then it calls for an independent open disclosure website where they will be publicly named and shamed for doing so. So, and yeah, someone said their staffers are literally paid to listen to you, so speak up, absolutely. If you happen to live in a district where your representative has already sponsored the bill, also please call them and thank them for doing the right thing, because we are asking them to legislate their ability to profit off of their position away. And while they might be the opposite party of you and you might not agree with them on everything else, I do think it's important that we speak up when they are doing the right thing. So that's
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And it reminds me of something that Tony said, I don't remember when, during one of these panels, about how, at the core, people just want to be liked, and politicians are people too. So, to thank a politician who's standing on business like this, I think would go a long way. And then for those of us in districts where the people aren't outright supporting it, we got calls to make. We got to be loud as constituents. So yeah, thank you for shouting the good cause. Matthew, again, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your perspective. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having the room. It's been wonderful as usual. I would love for everybody who is listening right now and who is in the room to just go ahead. Let's take 3 breaths together if we could, please. And so sitting up, letting your spine be as it's going to be for your body, for your locomotion, feeling the gravity of your pelvis and the pull out the top of your head. Imagine your lungs being 3-dimensional, because they are. And push all the air out of your lungs. Push, 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 like you're rolling up, getting that last bit of toothpaste out. And now fill your lungs up from the bottom up through your nose if you can. Deep breath in. Feel them expanding in all directions. Pause. And exhale out. Push, 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 push. Deep breath in. And pause. And let that out. Push, 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 push. 3rd time's a charm. Deep breath in. And pause. And sigh. Let that out. We are connected. We are already in community. We don't have to build it as much as we think we need to. It's already there. It's already there. We just need to be open to it and be in relation with one another. Thank you again for having me here. Peace of mind, peace of body, peace of spirit.
Thank you so much for taking us through that breathing practice. Absolutely, needed, and I feel very centered. Thank you so much again for being here, just entirely. Tony, your turn for some final words. What you got for us tonight, my friend?
The final words are this. 1, I always appreciate some breath work. Thank you so much. It's free. It's available all the time. And if any of us ever feel like we're losing control or losing grip or losing sight, it's always within reach to find your center again. Never forget it. Never let anyone take that away from you. My final words are this. I was born in a very small rural town that had drive your tractor to school day, and very church-oriented, very closed-minded, very sequestered off from the outside world. And once upon a time, I became a musician. I went to college. I started to learn things. I started to gain perspective. I went from reading the Bible to reading the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the Buddhist Four Noble Truths, trying to find what sacred texts, well, there really aren't any from the African nations, but you can find some traces of it, and I suggest you look into that as well. South American, from the Olmecs to the Incas, you start to learn, you start to read, you start to understand what these people have seen, what they've learned, what they've gone through, what their traditions were. I've learned so many things from the left, from the right, from the anarchists, from the socialists and the communists and the libertarians. And I've learned all these little tidbits, pieces, factoids, historical precedent, forgotten history, pieces of history that were never told or drowned out by louder, more oppressive voices. And of all the things I've ever learned, the most powerful thing to me is to let them speak. Hear them. Let someone else do a little talking, but don't just listen for your turn to talk. Listen to understand. Because just like we discovered, that deep breath, that breath work, it works for everybody. If you've got a pulse, if you have a heart, if you've got those lungs, you have those neurons firing, it works. And it works because we're all the same. But in that sameness, there's this uniqueness that's so beautiful that it's the source of our individualism, but it's been tainted, it's been corrupted. And now we wear it as some sort of badge of war, when instead, I think that uniqueness just gives us perspective. Because when I look at Matthew, I see myself, but that computer software was loaded into a different piece of hardware. And now it gets to exist as an entirely separate thing, even though fundamentally we are the same. How beautiful is that? And how complicated it can be when certain wires get crossed between people. So the most important thing of all the information I've ever tried to learn, I've learned dozens of instruments. I've traveled all around this country and places in the world. The most important thing I've ever discovered was just listening to people's stories. From people who living on the street to doing house concerts for state representatives. I've seen so many different perspectives, but the thing that you learn when you travel, the thing you learn when you listen, is you learn how to see the child in everyone's eyes. Because once upon a time, they were a blank slate. And you can see what the world did to them and what they decided to do for themselves in light of it. So just don't stop listening. Don't stop trying to gain perspective. Even if someone's speaking like the person whose life was taken this week very publicly. I cannot think of a single time that person's face came across any of my algorithms on any of these channels. And I thought, hell yeah, brother. But somewhere in him is a 7-year-old who had dreams, ambitions, a clean slate. And what did the world do? What did they say to him? What did they do to his brain? What happened? What happened to mine? What happened to yours? What is real? And this is only 16 of us in here, so this is where I'll land the plane. I'll go existential with it. We are the reality breakers. And if you're a reality breaker, you understand how fragile it is and how real it can feel. I used to believe certain things that I'm so far away from now that I can't even believe that I used to believe. I can't even believe that I used to be that guy. But it was real to me then, so real as the nose at the end of my face. But it's not a part of me anymore. We change. We are the reality breakers, and so I look forward to the next one. So if any of you ever hear me say something that deserves to have its reality broken, say it. I look forward to it. It's like a tattoo on my soul. One that'll never go away and I will never forget. And I appreciate each and every one of you from the farthest points of the right of the Overton window all the way to the left, and those who don't even know what the hell the Overton window is. I've learned so much from you. I've learned about myself, my blinders, my triggers, my inefficiencies, my inadequacies, and most importantly, my connectiveness and my strength. So thank you. None of these conversations that I'm in would be possible without you. My knowledge is nothing without you. You test it, you forge it in the fires of either disagreement, nuance, or just full-on head nods. So thank you. Don't ever stop. We are the example for the younger generation who right now is receiving a message that all human beings are broken, and I refuse to believe it. And I refuse to be a part of that narrative. And I'm glad you are also representing that. Thank you for having me.
Bro, thank you for being here. Like, I cannot understate how a lot of this, like, don't get me wrong, this is my show and I've been doing it, but a lot of the reason why I'm doing this is because of the relationship that you and I have built over the time that we've had. I wouldn't be so motivated to be this tip of the spear and the light in the dark and that kind of thing if I didn't have you by my side. So thank you for being here in this conversation with us. All 5 days. We made it all 5 days. Thank you so much. Tori, again, thank you for coming in with such a wonderful perspective. We didn't really get to touch a lot on third spaces, so I'm going to make sure that we come back to the idea of third spaces in season 3. So you really have some chances to shine with something specific. But thank you for being here with the meta dialogue of the conversation and the other times you have participated in the conversation with us. I would love to have some final words.
I love that, and thank you again so much for having me. Tony, you're always hard to follow. Everything you say, I'm just like, well, he just said it all. But just going back to the idea of this group kind of being an echo chamber in and of itself, there were a couple of things that were said that there was like just a subject that I feel called to speak on that I think might be slightly controversial, maybe slightly triggering for some. So just putting that out there as fair warning. But there was one of the things that People's Lunch said, which was heal loudly, I felt like was confirmation for me to speak on it. Because I actually spoke on something kind of similar in my counseling session this morning, which was about family dynamics and different experiences between family members, and how, my sister and I, who might still be in the chat, I don't know if they want to identify themselves or not, but we share different experiences, and we've had conversations about this before, how sometimes we used to clash based on our different experiences, because I felt like it was like validating her experience would invalidate my own. And I realized that was something, like, over time, after like doing my own work and my own self-healing, like I realized that that's the reason why I would sometimes be triggered when we would have like deep conversations, was because I realized that validating her experience felt like invalidating my own, and that's not the case. Both can be true. Both can be true at once. It's not all good and it's not all bad. And two people can have two different experiences that are completely 100% valid without invalidating one another's experiences. And I sometimes think that that's what kind of happens in the culture war that we're seeing now, and some of the labels that we identify with. There's nothing wrong with identifying with like certain labels and terms and groups and our communities. For example, I'm a member of the queer community, but sometimes I feel ostracized from the queer community as a bisexual who is in a seemingly heterosexual relationship. People just assume that I'm not queer and I'm not an ally because I'm a cisgendered female in a heterosexual relationship, so I must not be part of the queer community. So, I mean, that's just one example, but I think that like certain labels and things like that, and identifying too hard with like one ideology or one group, can also be divisive in and of itself. And just the point that I wanted to get at was just, like Tony said, we're all once children who didn't identify with any of these labels, and we're all the same deep down at our core, and all of us need healing. And what Matthew said about like how much of our thinking is our own is such a strong point, and everything that he said about language is also such a strong point. And so that's why I just felt like I wanted to touch upon it, even though it was definitely a touchy subject. Just, being compassionate towards one another and each other's experiences. I see a lot in like the feminist movement today where, again, just not to invalidate anybody else's experience, just because one group of people has been categorized as the oppressors in the past doesn't mean, just like the person who was unalived recently, doesn't mean that he deserved that, or that his experience, or, I think you guys get the point. I think you see what I'm getting at. So I'll just end there and just say that, I love you all, and I love humanity as a whole, and I just hope that we can all find compassion for one another.
Thank you so much, my friend. It's it's poignant to point to such a personal relationship and sharing that, and it is something that we could take the core idea of what you just shared with us and apply it to many different levels of community, whether it's across political divides, whether it's the people across the street from you, the people in your own household. Like I as a monist, I firmly believe that we are all but fragments of the same soul. Our collective unconscious is also our collective soul. And so what the purpose of life to be then is to exist. And how does Bill Hicks say it? We are all one, experiencing itself subjectively through experiences and through degrees. So to take it to such a personal level and share such an experience, and then see those that come forward from it, the interpretation of it can be taken a bunch of different ways. So thank you again for sharing it, and thank you again for being here. LaRinda, it's your turn for final words, my friend. I really appreciate you coming up and spending time with us in the box for this episode and on Wednesday, and just for being involved in this all the time. Thank you so much. Thank you. You're muted.
Goodness gracious. Thank you so much, Tripp. I appreciate it so much. I know when you asked me on, I was like, what? I thought I just watched them and took notes. But I appreciate it because you inspired me so much, and you're the one that recommended to me, which you mentioned these books here, was The Citizens, What I Keep the Fix and Everything Is All of Us, and Utopia for Realists, which I devoured. In fact, got a city council person is now reading Utopia for Realists as I work on them to not criminalize homelessness, which, by the way, because the Supreme Court essentially overturned that it is okay, that it's now okay to ban encampments. It's a lot of cities are doing it. So watch what's happening in your city. But I think I really appreciate that we kind of ended on this healing theme, because I truly believe that to change the world, yes, we need to do external things, but it's also going to start right in here. It's going to start right in here, because that's what changes our culture. That's what really is a catalyst for change. And I can't remember who said it, but I wrote it down, of someone saying the man who was shot was once a 7-year-old boy. And that's something that there's I would suggest the music video. It's Ren, R-E-N. I know you have Tripp, I'm obsessed. Money Game Part 3. That has helped me so much, because you see this progression and this storytelling and of this person who's everything that's oppressing right now. And even those who are most privileged benefit most from oppressive systems, are harmed by them. Everyone is harmed by them. And that little boy was hurt, because that's what hurt little boys can grow into. And that makes me sad. So that's one way where I can try and get that empathy of, remember, because I was hurt as a kid, So I think we can all, the children inside of us can relate to the other children inside of others, kind of a thing. So that's what I'll leave with. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Happy to have you. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye to y'all. Thank you so much for being here. Y'all have yourselves a great evening. And with that, this is the conclusion of season 2. We have gone 10 different ideas, people of all different walks of life sitting with us in this conversation of good faith to have the conversation that's needed. This meta dialogue was excellent. Like I said a couple times throughout, I feel, for me personally, as the facilitator of the space, that was a spiritual experience. Y'all coming through the way that y'all have done is just amazing to me. And I really, really appreciate just all the work that everybody's doing, both in their individual lanes, as well as showing up to this random intellectual jazz project that we have going on together through this cyberspace. I am just super grateful to have you all here in spaces that we can really connect and potentially inspire other people, make some little ripples of change, plant some seeds for trees of that our children and our children's children will sit in front of, and all of the things that are possible when we work together in collaboration instead of competing, and all of the different things that is possible on the other end. So I thank you to everybody who's been involved with this conversation over this week and in July, like anybody who's spent time sitting with us to have this conversation. I thank you for it. And to all the audience members who are here to support, both new and old, coming to the conversation with their own perspectives, it is beautiful to have you all here. I will inevitably say, of course, tell your friends. If you think that there's somebody in this life that could benefit from conversations like this, please point my tube of you out to them, because I feel like the more people who hear this, the better. And so I'm going to take a hiatus. I don't know for how long. I am inspired to start season 3 like tomorrow, but I have things in my life I have to deal with first. So season 2 has completed. Just know that when season 3 starts, the citizen story paradigm shift and the conversation will come back, because those two come back every season. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everybody who's willing to do the journey, to walk into the dark and craft a better existence for us and our generations to come. Y'all inspire me to keep showing up and doing what I do. And until next time, be well, fellow citizens.